Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to story time. Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin. Have you ever wondered why we have pigeons? They're not part of the food chain and are generally thought of as pests. So why do we have pigeons in our towns and cities? Once, pigeons were very useful to mankind. The pigeon of today is the descendant of the Persian pigeons that were brought here for the flying hats that were very popular here in the 1890s. The flying hat was a device that a gentleman could wear and fly from one place to another. It was a hat with a frame that had pigeons in a cage on it. The pigeons would be made to flap their wings, and the gentleman would then rise from the ground and fly. London's sky would have many a gentleman flying past using the flying hat. This was the only way to travel for the well-to-do young man. Only once was a lady allowed to use a flying hat, but this led to tragedy. Miss Kate Bush thought it would be a fun thing to do to try a flying hat. Whilst up in the air, a gentleman passed her and tipped his hat. But as he did this, he lost his balance and fell to his death. After that, women were not permitted to use flying hats. After a while, these birds would die from exhaustion and have to be replaced by others. These pigeons were bred just for the flying hats and no other purpose, but some would escape and go feral. This wasn't a problem at the time, as there were not too many of them. But something happened that made the pigeons the common pest that it is today. The London Times had decided to sponsor a flying hat race from London to Manchester, and every young man who had a flying hat signed up for this most thrilling race. The day of the race came, and the young men met at Hyde Park, and all of the fashionable society was there to cheer them on. The Lord Mayor of London started the race with one blow of his whistle, and off they went up into the sky. All was going satisfyingly well until they got to Dunstable. The leader of the race was a young man by the name of Roger Taylor. He was going faster than any of the others, but when he got to Dunstable, the other racers soon caught up with him. It was then that one of them noticed that Mr. Taylor had eagles in his hat, and this was making him go faster than the other racers. At this the other men said that this was not fair play and berated Mr. Taylor. As Mr. Taylor argued back, his cage started becoming loose from his hat, and as the kerfuffle went on, Mr. Taylor's cage burst open, freeing all the eagles. Mr. Taylor fell to the ground, and as the eagles flew about the sky, the pigeons started to panic, thus unsteadying the other racers. To avoid disaster, the pigeons had to be freed and the race stopped. After the race, questions were raised in Parliament regarding the dangers of the flying hats. Prime Minister Gladstone decided to ban the flying hat throughout the entire British Empire. It is because of that race that we have pigeons in our towns and cities to this very day. The end.